Hello everybody and welcome back to another live stream of the AOR PC GT3 Elite League on Project Cars. We are 3 days away from the 2-year anniversary of the first ever league race back in Season 1 of the AOR GT3 Leagues. And we are here today to round off Season 7. We've come a long way. There's been a lot of races since then. And Season 7 will come to an end today with round 10 at Dubai for 39 laps of racing. We're gonna jump straight out to the track. You can see it's a nice sunny day, and here to commentate for you as always is me, Fizzy, and with me the man himself, the Project Cast guy, Yorkie.
Hello, hello, hello. This one's going to be an exciting one. Got 2 battles going on in the championship, battle for 2nd place and a battle for 4th place. Obviously Chaff has claimed that 1st position, but there are scores still to settle, and we've got just under 4 minutes left in the qualifying, so we should probably get through that first, and then we'll get on to the actual championship battles.
Definitely. We'll get more into detail with the championship battles in just a moment, but as we tend to do, let's have a quick look at who is doing what in this qualifying session so far. And I guess there it comes as no major surprise that Charf, the man who has already wrapped up the championship win, is there at the top of the sheets, a little bit further ahead than he was last week at Watkins Glen, when he was quite close actually. They're up towards the front. He's got a 0.6 of a second gap at the moment over Godfather or Shift, and of course, crucially, Godfather Shift ahead of D. Keller, because that is one of those major championship battles. That is the battle for 2nd place, in fact. Only 1 point separating Godfather Shift and Papan, or D. Keller, in the championship, in Godfather Shift's favor, and he also is ahead so far in qualifying by only 0.2 of a second. He is back in the garage though, so he will not be improving by the looks of it, whereas D. Keller is out on track trying to find the 0.2 that he needs to get up to make it a Duckbusters front row here at Dubai. Let's look a bit further down the field. We got Hideaki currently sitting in never mind. Just as I say that, he popped himself up to third, yeah, ahead of D. Keller. Absolutely crucial, actually, trying to help his teammate Godfather Shift out a bit in the championship if he can stay there. Keller now needs to find 1/10 to take third away from Hideaki, and I think he just went across the main straight without improving. So yeah, he will have one more attempt, will D. Keller, to find a bit more time to get himself further up the grid. But looking further down, Ratrug is holding 5th at the moment. Solid qualifying for him, letting a car through there. F-Mate back in the garage, sitting 6th at the moment. Sula 7th, Brandress 8th, Jeff 9th, and Villo holding on to the final top 10 position. And it looks like, Yorkie, that we have a 16 driver field here for the final race.
Yep, that's good. A little bit up from last week, but yes. What was I going to say? Yeah, D. Keller being popped down into 4th, as we saw. Championship battles between Godfather and Shift and D. Keller for 2nd place. And then the other championship battle is between Hideaki and F-Mate. And Hideaki's currently in 3rd at the moment, with F-Mate down in 7th. So yeah, advantage to Hideaki at this current stage in qualifying. The guys are on their last qualifying lap, so it'll be interesting to see how they're actually going to compare in that, currently in the first sector, Hideaki is actually 0.2 of a second quicker than D. Keller. Godfather of Shift is currently in the pit, so he won't be setting a new lap. We're just waiting for the second time from second sector time from D. Keller.
Yeah, I think it's
actually
yeah.
Yeah, 2 temps up on Hideaki, so he's clawed it back. It's pretty much dead even at the moment. F-Mate is in the garage. He's now actually been dropped down into 8th place as well, so he won't be improving his position. So it's all between Hideaki and Dika. These are the two that we're going to be watching in these last 45 seconds.
Yeah, I'm currently be watching the whole lap here from D. Keller, just because he has the pressure on him really to improve on his time. He's coming around the final corner now. He only has to run to the line. He's got a 1:53.5. Will he improve? Ooh, no, he doesn't look like he will. That's unfortunate for D. Keller. Back to the garage he goes. Anyone else out on a track?
Sula.
Sula's out on track. Ooh, with a car just behind him as well. I think that's Andrix possibly in the Mercedes AMG there.
Yep, he's out on track too.
Yep, so we're gonna follow these then. Not quite sure. This is the final corner, I guess. So will he have time to get to the line? Yes, he should have. So he's currently P7 on the grid. Oh, and he pops himself up to P5, a 0.4 of a second improvement there actually. So a solid final effort from Sula. And Andrix is now back in the pits. So I think that's it. Yep, here we go. Final qualifying session of the season goes to Charv with a 0.6 of a second ahead of Godfather Shift. Crucially, with the championship rival D. Keller down in 4th, splitted by his teammate Hideaki. And then Sula, Rattrag, F-Mate, Jeff, Brandrus, Rillo in the top 10. Dangerous, Janetta, Ram, Biltis, Andrex, Hatharion and Jamai will round off the grid here at Dubai.
Aye. So interesting. Start off straight away. And if you were around at the end of last week, at the end of the round, we had a quick chat with D. Keller about his race. He was actually the only driver that we interviewed last week. But we popped in the question if there's going to be any kind of team play going on this race, because obviously Chaff has already wrapped up the championship. D. Keller's teammate, Chaff's teammate is D. Keller.
Yep.
And last week, Chaff pretty much, I guess, gave D. Keller the race win to bring those two up to very, very close points difference of only a single point between D. Keller and Godfather of Shift, sorry. So, yeah, D. Keller said that Chaff will not be helping D. Keller out in any way during this race. There'll be no team play, so it's going to be a straight fight between Papand and Godfather of Shift for that second place in the championship.
Yeah.
It'll be very, very interesting.
And hopefully that will be the case as well. Obviously crucial though that actually the two are currently split by the other teammate Hideaki, who will be starting third between them. So will there be some teammate from that side, I wonder? That remains to be seen. But
Possibly.
I would think though that Hideaki also wants a good result for himself. He wants a second podium of the season. That has eluded him with some bad luck in recent races. But I'm going to go ahead and just show you exactly the championship situation here, as we've already touched on. You can see that Chaff has a major lead. He has already wrapped up the championship quite comfortably, but it's all about second place at the moment. 1 point you can see there, in 199 and 198 between for Godfather Shift and D. Keller, and then of course the 4th place battle as well. Hideaki starting 3rd here today, and then F-Mate starting 8th. They are separated by just 4 points as well. But obviously Hideaki with the better starting position is looking in a solid state for that one. Then there's also a few championship battles further down actually. We got Jeff and Biltis, who are both on the grid as well. They're only separated by 3 points in the battle for 7th, although they could potentially make it 6th if they have a really strong result today. It's 17 points from Jeff up to Nova, who obviously isn't racing anymore. So yeah, if they get a top 6 or 5 results, then maybe that could be another position gained there. And then battle for 9th, which is currently held by Suomi, but he's not on the grid today, so that is for the taking by the likes of Brandrus and Sula, who are both present. I don't think Claessens is here. It doesn't look like he is. So yeah, that's between then Brandrus and Sula to take 9th place here today, assuming they score some points at least. And then also for 13th position, really close between Andrex, Rillo and Natharion. Only 1 point between those 3 drivers. And also Rattrag with a little shot there as well. He's 9 points behind Hetharion. And then also Ram and Jamai close for 18. So Yorkie, there's some championship battles really up and down here. A few drivers have their position wrapped up already, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the championship develops.
Yep, definitely. Just doing a quick bit of calculation. Jeff, who's currently in 7th place, if he wants to leapfrog Nova up into 6th, he needs to get 6th position or above. If he gets 7th, he'll score the 17, so he'll match the same number of points as Nova, but Nova's got more wins and better results in the earlier on in the season, so Nova will retain that 6th position if that was the case. So yeah, Jeff needs 6th position, which will give him 20 points to pop himself up. Who was the other driver you said? Biltis. He needs to get
5th then, I guess. Yeah.
Or higher, yes.
Yeah.
That is correct.
That would make sense. So yeah, definitely got to keep an eye on those. I can't exactly remember where those two ended up starting on the grid here. But yeah, just keep an eye on that. Biltis needs 5th and Jeff needs 6th. Yeah, I think we're about to skip on to the next session. Doesn't look like any. Oh, never mind. There are some cars on tracks. On track. Ram is out there doing some last-minute lapping. Also saw Andrex in that Mercedes was out there. So yeah, Yorkie, it's been a long season really. It's been some ups and downs as it tends to, and yeah, basically, if you had delayed this race by 3 days, we would have been on the 2-year mark since the first round of season 1. So we've come a long way, I think. But
it's very, very close.
Yeah,
it's actually a good point. The project car's been out for over 2 years.
Yeah,
came out in May. I actually forgot about that anniversary.
It's flown past a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. It's gone very, very quick. We've got the new one coming out later this year. Good.
Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about that a bit more later, I guess. But this one actually, because I kind of forgot saying hi to people in the chat. So hello to everyone who is watching and in the Twitch chat at the moment. Minimanor Nismo, of course, who we would like to see on the grid, but with his technical issues, is instead watching the races. So Poochie Head and Synchrotron also representing there. And whoever else are watching without actually posting, that's fine as well. But I think we are now waiting for Andrex is the host of the session, so I'm not sure why we are waiting at the moment. It does look like all 16 drivers are in the session.
Yep.
So
could be just discussing the last couple of bits, but
yep.
Yeah, let's hear your predictions, guys. Who do you think will take 2nd place in the championship? Actually, you might as well do from 2nd down to 5th, because those are the positions that are on offer. Obviously, Shaft's already got the championship wrapped up, so we're not worried about that. But we want to know who, out of Godfather, Chef, D. Keller, Hideaki, and Vernux, basically what order you think that they're going to come in at the end of the championship standings.
Interesting. Vernux being F-mate, of course. Just to clarify that for any new viewers.
Yes.
A bit annoying with the name changes that are messing about a bit, but here we go, actually. Yeah, there has been quite a few. So here we go. There was a car slightly glitchy on the grid, but I think he got into his position in the end. So we got 16 drivers ready for action here. There's a bit of syncing going on. This is quite unusual, Yorkie. I'm not sure what's going on here. But, oh, there we go. It's disappeared. So the lights are going to go out right now, and there is luckily no movement because we are going to have the manual rolling start formation lap procedure thingy as per usual. I'm not quite sure what Shafts' car is doing. That is turned out some kind of crazy hydraulics there. Not sure what you're seeing, Yorkie, on your screen.
He is bouncing around. There's a couple of cars moving a tiny bit, so there is life in and amongst the other drivers in the field, but we hope that they're going to start rolling away relatively soon to actually get this race going. Otherwise, we may...
There's an earthquake going on here. There's a car actually going through the field. That is Ram. Was had enough of this. It does look like a few drivers have disappeared, actually. So I think we might... Yeah, actually, yeah, all of them have disappeared. So I think we have some kind of technical issue, which has meant that the session will have to be restarted. I assume, though, that we're gonna keep the qualifying results, put all the cars on the grid again, and then they'll sort out their positions on the formation lap again. That is what usually tends to happen in this situation.
Yep.
So in that case, I guess we will just hold the start for a bit, and we'll get back. And yeah, indeed, Minnie, I won the race officially because I was the last one to leave the session.
Cheeky.
Haha, still planned.
But yeah, this is one of the advantages of doing the manual rolling starts that we do, is if anything does happen at the start of the race in terms of the transition from the warm-up to the actual race session, we can quite easily rectify it by just going in and creating a race session, and then the guys organize themselves into their actual qualifying results positions, and yeah, we don't have to worry about anything else in that sense interfering. So we'll just wait for the other guys to basically get a new lobby ready, and then we'll join that, and we will be able to continue with the race.
Oh yeah. Do you maybe want to jump into the driver chat and just kind of get an update on, as well, whether the lobby is up and also what actually will cause the restart there?
I can. Be right back.
So in that case, yeah, that was a quick one run in. That was a very quick race. But yeah, don't go anywhere just yet. I think we had this situation at some point earlier in the season. Was it Laguna Seca? For those of you who watched it, I feel like it was Laguna Seca where we had some kind of restart as well, which does obviously add a bit of unfortunate extra time before the race that you'll have to wait. But you might as well watch this Project Cars intro while we wait, because there's nothing too much else to look at the moment. Okay. I have gotten word from Yorkie via text message that the lobby is up, so I will try to get in there. Then we shall get some race going very quickly. Hopefully, very quickly. Okay. Alrighty. Looks like I was the last one in as well, so That means everyone else is in at least, so that's a good start. Let's see. McLaren. Orange McLaren. Oh, I thought that was an orange McLaren I was watching there. Never mind. Where's built this? I want to watch an orange McLaren. Hey, orange McLaren. Look. With a Bentley inside is spoiler there for a second, but in any case, yeah, so Yorkie has told me that he is just gonna stay in the driver room for a bit to read out the quality results to help them organize the grid on the formation lap, which I assume will be restarting in a very near future. I assume these drivers are just going out to make sure their equipment is working and all that, but here we are back on the grid again. Obviously now the order of the cars on the grid will be completely jumbled up because it's a fresh lobby that's been set up. The lights are gonna go out and then we shall go into the spectator mode. Find Mr. Sharf then, I guess, who is the first one to move away. So this at least gives us a chance to remind ourselves about the qualifying results here. So Chaff, oh my word, don't get too close, Mr. Godfather Shift. There's some very excessive weaving by Chaff. Luckily, it's not actually an actual race lap at the moment. So they're just obviously it's quite important to get the heat in the tires because the formation lap is even longer than usual when the grid has to be organized on the fly. So Chaff is taking his time to get down to the first corner. And he is the man who will be starting in front of the field. Godfather Shift and the two teammates there, splitting the two Duckbuster cars. Keller in fourth, which is quite crucial with the championship rival in fourth, and also with Godfather Shift's teammate in between, of course. Keller has a really tough task to get this second place in the championship from Godfather Shift based on how they start on the grid. But we know that Keller, he has had an upwards curve this season. He won last week the race at Watkins Glen, so he's definitely on good form and could definitely put up a good challenge for the Z4 cars ahead of him. We got Sula, it's going to be fifth, and we got Yorkie back in the commentary box.
Hi, hello.
Hello. So I'm just running through the... So, was it that quick then? Have you already gone through the whole field? That was quite efficient, I must say, in that case.
I think everybody's in the right order. Killer, Sula, Ratro, Mate, Jeff...
Oh, Mate was in 7th. I thought he qualified 8th for some reason, but he seems to be in 7th at the moment. So Jeff is going to be 8th. Brandon and Rillo. I remember Rillo being 10th at least. That's good. Interesting. Nessa.
That looks about right too.
Yeah. Just appear that everyone is in their correct order. Built is a little bit further down the grid than I would have expected from him actually. Built is who is of course fighting with the Jeff for that 7th, potentially 6th place in the championship. But yeah, definitely a difficult starting position for Biltis compared to Jeff, who is up in 8th. So that's 5 positions further up. But he has some work to do if he wants to get him in the championship now. And of course, Andrix, Atharan and Jamai prepping up the field. They only really have one way to look, and that is up on the grid, as we got some very close cars there in the midfield. It was Rillo getting close to Brandress, but then it's spreading out a bit, as I guess we are soonish coming up to the formation point, Yorkie. So try to do a super quick run through of the formation lap procedure now from here on until the main straight, for those who may not have watched these races before.
Yep, so they'll be here in their formation point where they line up in 2x2 formation, which they're doing rather beautifully now. They'll stick to either side of the circuit, and they'll slow down to, I believe, 80 kilometers now and 50 miles per hour. And then they'll crawl along at their speed until an acceleration zone, which is designated between 2 points. The start of that acceleration zone will be somewhere on the pit straight. I believe it's some kind of marking on the barrier over on the right hand side of the track, and then the end of that acceleration zone is the actual start finish line itself. Any point between those two in that zone between those two areas the leader will be able to put his foot down to signify the start of the race, and he has gone and done that.
Oh,
now.
that was quick. That was very quick. I say, because the race is underway, and Chav is leading the way down into the first corner. Let's look back. Godfather Shift, slightly poor run as we expect from the guy. Second, there's going to be 3 wide for second place. Keller on the outside. Godfather Shift in the middle. Hideaki on the inside a bit as well. Can Keller gain the position? Crucially, Keller has got ahead of Hideaki straight away, and the battle for second place in the race is also now the same as the battle in the championship, with Godfather Shift ahead of D. Keller there. Hideaki trying to get the place back, but it doesn't do it at the moment, and it looks like Sula is keeping 5th, Retro keeping 6th. Have you seen any position changes, Yorkie?
Not really, but Godfather Shift ran out pretty wide there on the exit of turn 6 and into turn 7. It looks like there's a little bit of adjusting going on in the midfield, a bit further back. F-Mate is still in 7th position. Actually, looks like Jeff may have lost a couple of positions. Yes, he has. He's dropped down into 11th place.
Yeah, he's dropped
that is
3
not
positions
good for him. Yep, but looks like most of the drivers got through relatively cleanly at the moment. There doesn't really seem to be any kind of damage apart from the damage that I saw at the start, and it actually looks like that Papand, DK is having a look at the inside of Godfather Shift into the hairpin. Wasn't quite able to do it though, and Hideaki actually closing up onto the back of that as well. And Godfather Shift will probably be hoping that Hideaki can get up and sneak back up into 3rd place to try and help rear gun for his teammate. I saw a couple of cars going side by side at the back of the field there as well.
I'm watching the battle, Gadenja Janetta and Jeff having a crazy battle there on the first lap, side by side for days, and it looks like Gadenja Janetta actually got that position back after Jeff was back ahead briefly. Sula has had some kind of problem early on in the lap. He dropped lots of positions, maybe a corner could slow down potentially. That's why he looked like he was going very slow on one of the straights, and he's now bang in the middle of this battle towards the pack, side by side with Ram at the moment through there. It's cars absolutely everywhere here in the bottom half of the field at the moment. Sula going round the outside of Ram, taking 11th place as he starts his comeback through the field. But let's jump back up to the front. Chav is streaking clear a little bit already, a couple of seconds I believe over Godfather Shift, and as you pointed out, he is still ahead of D. Keller. Oh, and I think that was quite close there for 4th. Yeah, Hideaki defending from Ratrug in the Audi into the first corner there. Ratrug might get a better exit as a result of it, and actually D. Keller has had a poor exit out of the first corner as well. Might put Hideaki on him, but I think he's got that one covered for now. But yeah, quite frantic action here in the first couple of laps, it has to be said.
Yep, DK seems to have struggled out of turn 1 and into turn 2 a couple of times. I saw him drop a couple of car lengths on the first sector. He's done so again on this lap. Sorry, the first lap, not first sector, although it is the first sector. But yeah, he's obviously trying to settle into this race relatively soon. Hideaki's all crawling all over the back of him. He's actually got Ratrug for pretty close company behind as well. And then there was also F-Mate in 6th position. He's closed up onto the back of this train as well and trying to cash in, see if he can gain positions at some point along the line. It actually looks like Ratrug may have gone for a slight move on the inside of Hideaki as he gets very, very close to the back of D. Keller in front of him, but avoids making contact for now. Chaff running off into the distance in 1st place. It looks like that Jeff in the background has managed to get past Dangerous Janetta, but there's still quite an intense battle for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and possibly 6th position as well.
There was some very close, maybe a bit of contact actually there in that battle. Genesis Janetta jumped down behind both Jeff and now Ram was going to head off the pack here. Ram up to 9th as he stands, and this is really splitting the field in half. This sort of battling. Yeah, you got a top 8 and then you got a back 8 as it stands, battling for 9th position. Jeff now up the inside. Ram going a little bit deep there, as we said, around the long left-hand corner. We haven't really touched on the circuit too much actually so far, kind of forgotten about that, but of course Dubai might not be too well-known circuit for quite a few people. We're going to touch on that more throughout the race, I'm sure. But here now into the final corner, Jeff back ahead of the pack in the battle for 9th. Oh, and Sula going round the outside actually might have been off the track a little bit naughty there from Sula on Ram, who was forced to take a tighter line, and Sula up into the top 10 again. Ram maybe coming back of him a little bit with some slipstream, but he has to go slightly defensive from Janetta now, who's also got the McLaren of Biltis on his inside. Yogi, make sure you keep a little eye up at the front while I look at this, because don't want to miss anything there either, but this is crazy. It's, can't really look away at the moment because there is position changing going on constantly here. And Ram was only a lap ago up in 9th. Oh, and actually side by side ahead again. Sula trying to go straight ahead of Jeff up to 9th, and he actually has got that move done. So Sula jumped down to P12 briefly. He's made up 3 positions quickly, but now of course he's lost a lot of time to the top 8.
there was a tiny little bit of contact there between Dangerous Janetta and Ram.
Oh,
actually.
car off.
Yeah, Ram's been shoved well off wide. That is Ram in the Audi R8. He seems to be quite slow as well. He may have a slowdown penalty out there, and Andrex is now actually coming up behind him. He's dropped quite far back as Andrex is now slipped down into 16th place, the final points position, but he may have a look down the inside of Ram coming into the braking zone here. No, he's not quite close enough to do that, so he's going to follow him through for the moment. But yeah, I think there was a bit of contact between Dangerous Janetta and
Ram's going to slow again.
Ram.
So Ram down to last place. I didn't see why he was going slow there. He was really wide on the exit of the corner. And yeah, he's gone down to last place. Unfortunate for Ram there, to be honest. He was having a solid start, some really good battling. And yeah, we're not really sure what's happened to Andrex either for him to be that far down. He seems to be spreading out a little bit now. Jeff trying to fight back on Sula, but nothing doing at the moment. So we're going to jump back up into the top 8 again. Villo and Brandrus pretty close together there. And then F-Mate is trying to chase down Ratrag. Hideaki, Keller and Godfather Shifter are all very close together still. And no position changes since we last were there.
Yep, actually just watching the guys' lines coming through the first turn. That Hideaki turns in a hell of a lot earlier than the other guys do. The others open up the corner quite a bit, whereas Hideaki goes for the inside quite early and then hugs that inside line. It doesn't really seem like there's any kind of gain between anybody. The guys in 4th, 3rd and 2nd have pulled away from Ratrug and F-Mate behind, whereas the gap between those two has stayed relatively close. So the start of a little bit of a split here between the 3 drivers in 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and then 5th and 6th. Just looking to see if anyone's going to start gaining any kind of slipstream coming down this back straight into the braking zone of the hairpin. Doesn't really look like anyone's going to take any kind of moves at this early stage, but yeah, so it seems like there's a bit of a field spread already starting to produce in this race.
Yep. There's a few gaps starting to form. Ratrug now dropping a little bit away from Hideaki after seemingly keeping up well in the first couple of laps. So that is the only non-BMW or rough car in the top 6. So Ratrug doing a good job, to be fair, in that Audi.
D. Keller having a look.
Oh my
He's
word!
now up the inside of Godfather of Shift. He actually stuck his nose in on the inside, and I think scared Godfather of Shift off the apex a little bit. He ran deep, which has allowed D. Keller to close right up on him. And if he gets a decent run coming out of here, he'll have the legs over the Z4 in front of him coming down the start-finish straight. Maybe potentially be able to make a move coming down into turn 1, which will obviously allow Hideaki to close up as well. Actually looks like Godfather of Shift is going slightly defensive. No, he moves back onto his line, but D. Keller's got the slipstream. Not going to go for the move though this time round into the first turn.
Damn, some crazy lighting as well. Going into the first corner might be distracting a little bit, making it more difficult to spot at the apex, especially as it's downhill as well. And Keller on the exit did also get close, but this is a tricky section of the track. It's not really an overtaking part of the circuit, unless of course someone takes a bad line or makes a mistake. So Keller following Godfather Shift through there at the moment. But yeah, it's really good to see that these guys, who are 1 point apart in the championship battle for 2nd place, is also now less than half a second apart in the battle for 2nd place, also in the race. And it's basically a case of whoever finishes ahead of these two will also finish ahead in the championship, and that's why it's going to be such an intense one.
Yep, the only way that they're ever going to match each other is if they both drop down into basically 12th position or lower. As long as they stay above those positions and finish in those, one of them will pop ahead of the other, and they will not finish on equal points. So as it stands at the moment, Godfather of Shift does have the advantage, obviously being sat in 2nd place. He will score 3 points more than D. Keller to pop himself 4 points ahead in the Drivers' Championship, and obviously claiming that 2nd place. And at the moment, Hideaki has the position over F-Mate as well, and obviously will retain his 4th position in the Drivers' Championship that he currently holds. But we have a long way to go in this race still. 33 laps left to complete, as we have just begun lap 7 out of 39.
Yep. For sure, I'm looking on my relative thing that there might be a close battle for 11th at the moment. Dangerous Ginetta holding that ahead of the Bentley of Hetharion. And as they come across the start-finish line, we can also compare their previous lap times. And Hetharion was actually slightly slower. Well, it's very basically equal lap time there. So it looks like these guys are going to be close, and Hetharion showing his the front of his Bentley in the mirrors of Ginetta going into the first corner. It must be said, actually, Bilty is sitting behind these guys. He's having a surprisingly struggled summer race, really compared to what we've seen from him earlier in the season. Bilty, who of course is 8th in the championship, has finished 5th and 6th on several occasions, but seems to be struggling a bit more today. And of course his championship rival Jeff, who is 7th in the championship going into this, he is in 10th ahead of him at the moment. And he's still keeping up with Sula, actually. Sula was looking really fast as he worked his way through back through the pack a bit with extreme efficiency. But Jeff in the Mercedes SLS is keeping up with the back of him, and both of them are actually closing in now on Vrillo, who is running in 8th and slightly slower pace than Brandress ahead.
Yep, I believe Jeff has taken 2 times out of Rillo on the... Oh, sorry. Out of Sula on the previous lap, and then Sula's taken a 2nd out of Rillo, and War is...
gone up to the battle for 2nd again, and the same corner where Keller stuck his nose up the inside a couple of laps ago. He's done it again. This time he wasn't quite as far alongside and had to back out of it, but yeah, I was a little bit scared for a second that it was going to be a bit of contact there.
Yep, well, Keller knows with all the experience that he has that he needs to pick and choose his battles. Obviously, one simple mistake could ruin his championship title fight. So, well, 2nd place in the title fight, should I say. So, he does need to be careful and make sure that he picks the right moment where he knows that he can definitely make the move stick. Because obviously, if he ends up going side by side with Godfather or Shift, Hideaki is there only lurking about a 2nd to a 2.5 seconds behind, and will be ready to take full advantage and try and cash in on the action as well. So yeah, it's a bit of pressure riding on Keller at the moment, and I imagine there's quite a lot of pressure sat on Godfather of Shift's shoulders as well.
Indeed. Well, we've been talking about this. I've been trying to desperately find a track map for Dubai, but the only one I could find doesn't have corner number, so that's very helpful.
Wikipedia.
No, that's the one I didn't. Well, it didn't have corner numbers for me, but we're going to focus then a bit before we get more into the track on Keller getting a run on Godfather Shift. Oh, he's going to go for the move up the inside. Door banging between the two cars. Godfather Shift's forced out wide a bit. I think Keller backed off from that one, knowing that he made a mistake, but that has let Hideaki's backed out a bit too much there, actually. And Hideaki is now on his inside through here. Keller, can he hold it around the outside of this corner? That would be mightily impressive. I think he's going to go for a cutback instead. Try to get his note underneath on the exit part of the corner. Slight bit of contact again. Keller being quite aggressive here at the moment in what might well be his final race in the league. He has announced that definitely on Project Cars 1 this will be his final GT3 league race. So it's quite sad. The man has been around since season 2. And of course we don't really know for sure what will happen with the league in the gap from now until the new game comes out either. But either way, Keller knows how important it is now to get back past ahead of Hideaki quite quickly, so that Godfather Shift doesn't get away. And he's now got the outside line again, just like at the first lap at the start of the race. He's gone around the outside of Hideaki into the first corner. Really impressive overtake there again. Hideaki did try to defend it, but Keller just found so much momentum with the outside line. And that is a really good move, and that will of course allow him now again to focus on Godfather Shift and closing that gap back down.
Yep, that was exactly what I was talking about with the move that Keller needed to make, and he needed to pick it at the right time. Unfortunately for him there, I think he just celebrated himself a little bit too much, and there was unfortunately contact between the two. Obviously with that being Keller's fault, he did the right thing and backed out of it, but that brought Hideaki back into play just as I was talking about. But that was an absolutely fantastic move around the outside to slot himself back up into 3rd position. The guys behind are actually relatively close as well, Ratrug and F-Mate. It actually looks like F-Mate is having a slight look to the outside of Ratrug as he's going slightly defensive coming into the hairpin there. Ratrug does have F-Mate all over the rear of his car, so two interesting battles at the very sharp end of the field that we're watching here. And one thing that I was going to say is that Hideaki going down that start-finish straight, leading to D. Keller's overtake around the outside. Probably could have done with Godfather shift, moving over to the right slightly to give his teammate Hideaki a little bit of slipstream coming down that start-finish straight.
Yeah, that didn't quite happen. It's obviously hard to think of things like that in the heat of the moment when you're also concentrating on all you need to do to get the best possible time out of the car. But Mate actually dropping a bit off Ratrug throughout this lap now. Not had a good second part of the lap, and of course Mate also falling behind in the championship battle for fourth with Hideaki, who is looking stronger at the moment. He is still behind Keller and Godfather Shift, currently losing out on that particular podium fight, but he's definitely keeping up. Is Hideaki the only driver, as far as I'm aware at least, driving on the pad in the league, everyone else on a steering wheel. So he keeps impressing me with how much speed he's able to find through that, and actually he's got the inside line on Keller, just through taking a much tighter line there. Keller running a little bit deep, and they're going to be side by side again on the exit, and this is where Hideaki was side by side before. Keller is going to have to try and cut underneath on the next one to try and do what he did last time, but yeah, he's got that back ahead for now. So it's a tough task actually for Keller, being in the middle of these two teammates. So if it was just a case of him versus Godfather Shift, it might have been an easier case, but he's got to have to worry about the car in his mirrors as well. So yeah, I'm not really envious of Keller's position in this race.
Yep, and Hideaki did actually a pretty good job there. Even though he didn't get the position, he's actually held up D. Keller a little bit and allowed Godfather a shift to eke out a couple of car lengths in front and give him a little bit of breathing room. Sharp has absolutely checked out up at the front end of the field and has completely robbed off into the distance. We barely even see him in the picture anymore, as Hideaki is lagging quite badly for me. Are you seeing that, Fizzy?
I saw that briefly. Okay. Just a little bit drifted through the corner there with a bit of smoke kicking up, but seems to have calmed down at the moment. I've actually looked down. There seems to be position change that have happened. Oh my word, as it goes to Sule, it goes straight off the track actually. He had passed Rillo, but as I say that, Jeff as well passes Rillo, and also potentially Sula, because of how wide he was taking that corner. Definitely must have missed his braking point coming into there, and yet Jeff getting two positions in very quick succession, although he has not quite made it stick because Sula is still looking on his inside, and Jeff was forced out wide on that exit curb, which might have compromised his traction slightly out of the corner, although that Mercedes SL is of course super fast on the straight, as we know, and he's able to hang on to that unless Sula goes for the lunge up the inside. Jeff leaves him the room, tries to get a better... and Sula lost it. Yeah, I was going to say, Jeff got a better exit, and he definitely got a better exit now, as Sula has dropped it. Bit too much oversteer there on the exit of the corner, and maybe Rillo could get back into this with Jeff. No, it doesn't look like it. Never mind. I keep commentator cursing them on the fly here, I feel, because Jeff has actually gone wide as well, and Rillo is back in 8th. So this is an interesting one. Some interesting stuff going on here. Just cars running wide everywhere, by the looks of it.
Yep, it looks like the guys are obviously really pushing hard and trying to get on the brakes as late as possible to make the move stick. However, they just need to settle down a little bit as Jeff is going for the move on Rillo to slot himself up in 8th place. The grunt of the SLS just powering on past the McLaren. However, the SLS not great on the brakes, had to get on the brakes a little bit earlier, but he had the inside line for the hairpin and has managed to make that move up into 8th position stick. As just seeing Dangerous Ginetta and also Hitharion in the background there. The Ginetta versus Bentley battle for 11th place. These two going side by side through multiple corners as Hitharion is trying to get a little bit of a switchback on Dangerous Ginetta, swinging out very wide and then cutting it back very tight on the exit of the corner, actually climbing up over the curb on the inside there, which would have compromised his traction. He's had to slot in behind Dangerous Ginetta to try and pick up the slipstream, really try and make a move coming into the next braking zone. No, he doesn't for the moment. He just slots in on that 12th position and sits behind Dangerous Ginetta. So very quickly going to pop back up through the field to see who is going where, and at the moment it still seems like the top 4, 5, 6 drivers are still in the same positions as we left them when we went to check on the other action fizzy.
That's always good. Quite often they're a bit naughty and try to make overtakes while we're not watching. But it seems like at the moment we have managed to see most of the action at least, as now I think still the most likely overtake is Atharion on Jeanette. Oh my word, Bilt's gone straight on at the first corner behind them. That is very wide. Luckily for him, there was a big bit of tarmac there, and actually there seems to be a bit of damage to the front of his McLaren as well, so he might have had some kind of contact either with the wall or a different car earlier in the race, and maybe that contributes to why he's struggling, although he did also qualifying in the position he's in at the moment. Worth looking back actually, Jam Maya has dropped out of 14th place, which he was holding for a bit. Ram even is up into that now. Andrex 15th with Jam just behind, so Jam has had some kind of little mistake somewhere on the track, I believe.
Yeah, just looking back. Actually, F-Mates dropped quite far back from Ratrug on the previous lap. Yeah, a good second and a half that he lost on lap 11. So he's lost some ground there. He's obviously still in 6th position at the moment, but his championship rival Hideaki is currently up the road in 4th position. So it's not really helping him at the moment. DK is looking fairly close to the back of Godfather of Shift again. I doubt he's going to have the run down into turn 1 this time round coming, but he'll certainly close up in the slipstream, and if he can get a decent run through the first couple of turns, he may potentially be in with a chance coming onto the back straight or potentially in a lap's time. So I think it'll probably be best to stick with D-Killer for the moment, as that battle for second place seems to be the hottest bit of action that we have on track at the moment.
Yeah, might as well just run on board with his front bumper for a lap, just if people can get a feel for the layout here. Currently, well, we've gone through the first sector now, and I believe we are now coming into the very quick consecutive turn 8, straight into the braking for turn 9, along a left-hand corner, then onto the longest straight on the circuit. Actually, the main straight isn't the longest, it's quite close, but this one heading down into the heavy brake zone for turn 10 is just about the longest straight here at Dubai. And heavy braking, of course, down the gears they go. Godfather Shift slightly up the apex. Keller taking a tighter line, so they're taking a very wide entry into turn 11, then onto a quite short run into turn 12 as well. Also very slow speed. A later apex again for Keller. Again, exit speed seems quite similar, and the sun shines in their faces as they head down towards the kink, left-hand kink of turn 13, and Keller is really closing in on Godfather Shift, and oh, that's very close to being cut his nose off there, into turn 14 actually. Slow speed left-hander, and then 15 follows straight away before you can see the pit entry there on the right side, and then the final corner going on to the main straight again. And yeah, that's a lap of Dubai, and I thought for a second that Keller was going to get the position in Godfather Shift, but Godfather Shift was having none of that. Cut him off as the last possible moment. Keller luckily saw it coming, so no contact between these two, but they remain incredibly close, not only in the race but also in the championship.
Yep, that was very, very aggressive defensive driving by Godfather Shift, but he did it very, very well. And obviously, D. Keller's experience, as you said, made him see that one coming. Actually, Godfather Shift also had that very, very tight line going into turn 1 as well. Turned a lot earlier than D. Keller did. Obviously, the Z4 with its magnificent mid to high speed cornering grip probably allow it to do that, whereas D. Keller has to be a little bit more cautious over the bumps and curbs, as the rough doesn't handle those too well, and it's actually really quite a bumpy car. Both of them pushing the limits of the track on the exit. I think D. Keller ran a little bit wider than Godfather Shift in front of me. He's actually got a pretty good toe coming up towards the hairpin. Both of the drivers will move to the middle part of the track, as you can see there, Godfather Shift doing so. It's actually the best line to take through that corner. It looks defensive, but you actually just kind of tighten the corner up for yourself, whereas you keep it up very, very open. It's very, very easy to over rotate the rear end and lose that going through the apex. So you make it a little bit tighter for yourself, and the car just settles a little bit nicer on the inside, and you're allowed to, it allows you to power out through the exit. But D. Keller seems to be picking up the slipstream in a number of places, giving him a number of opportune moments, but Godfather of Shift seems to be breaking very, very deep in a couple of places as well as D Killer gets pretty close to the back of the Z4 in front of him, but had to hesitate on the throttle as the Z4 was there and obviously trying to avoid making contact. So that's dropping D Killer back a little bit, and I imagine Hideaki isn't too far behind now either.
Yeah, these guys are just taking so different lines throughout so many of the corners on the lap. It's quite quite crazy actually. It kind of feels like with that Keller is quite anxious or quite eager to get through, but you know, or is just doing it to try and put a bit of extra pressure on his car, trying to put Godfather Shift off a little bit. I'm not sure if these are the same lines that Keller would actually have run if he was in clean air. It's hard to really say if it's a tactical thing to try and put Godfather Shift off, but it doesn't seem like at the moment that Godfather Shift is being put off, because he's just running his line and not showing a care in the world as to what Keller is doing behind him. And at the moment he is not making a mistake, but as was pointed out as well by Imperator Titan in the chat as well, Keller has got a lot of laps to try and make this at the moment. He shouldn't do anything stupid like he kind of did a little bit earlier on, running very wide there though actually, but not losing too much time I don't think. But yeah, he's got still 24 and a bit laps to go in this race. It's not quite into the part of the race yet where it's do or die. He has time to try and force Godfather Shift into a mistake ahead of him. But if it's still like this in the final few laps of the race, then it might be a different story.
Yep. One thing we haven't actually touched on is strategy at all in this stream that we've done.
True.
I haven't actually spoken about that and whether they're going to be doing any pit stops during the race. I haven't actually been informed by anyone. I don't know if you have, Fizzy, as to whether this is going to be a 0 or a 1-stop race. No.
I have failed to gather that information, I'm afraid.
So it's purely a guessing game for us as to when the guys will pit. They'll probably be in and around lap 20 if they do go for a one-stop race. But at the moment, it looks like the guys seem to have relatively good control of their cars and don't really seem to be needing to make a switch to fresher tyres. So this could potentially be a 0-stop race for a couple of people who are willing to risk it.
Yeah, that's always that's kind of what we wanted, of course, with the extra race length, 1 hour 15 instead of 1 hour, as it was in previous seasons. You know, hoping for a bit of variation between the 0-stop and the 1-stop. So for this season, it's usually been one or the other. Obviously, some races have been a 0-stop, some races have been a 1-stop, but there's only been a few cases, I think, of actually there being a clear variation between drivers in the race. So it's not going to be too many laps though before we find out exactly what will happen here, because we started with 39 laps, if I remember correctly, and that means that it's only 4 or 5 laps until the halfway point, at which point we should get an indication of whether the tyre wear is such that the pit stop will indeed be necessary. So definitely going to be an interesting one, and of course, if that is the case, that could be a different way potentially for Keller to make the move on Godfather Shift, either with the undercut or even the overcut, if he feels like he actually has the pace to be faster than him if he was in clear air here. But of course, with the fresher tires, you expect that the undercut would be more efficient.
Yeah, I think D-Killer at this stage seems to have the pace over Godfather Shift. Every time that D-Killer drops back a little bit through battling or whatever, he seems to close up and hang around. It's not like he's losing ground to Godfather Shift in front of him. I think if anything, Godfather Shift is probably running a slightly alternative lines to how he usually would, and turning in a little bit earlier to make it basically very, very clear that he doesn't want to let D-Killer past behind him, and making sure that he does close that door relatively early to prevent any kind of opportunistic lunge by D-Killer.
Yeah.
So
maybe it's a little bit more nervous after the slight contact they had earlier as well.
That move earlier in the race, Fizzy, you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
maybe
are. Okay.
a bit more cautious now, obviously, because that time he did leave the door open for Keller, and he took the opportunity, even though he was a little bit too optimistic in the end. But yeah, definitely seems like you're right in that Godfather Shift is covering him off quite early at the moment.
Yep, both drivers actually running out pretty wide on the exit of the turn 9 hairpin there onto the back straight. He could have a little bit of a look to the inside, but isn't going to go for it. Actually, Godfather Shift, if anything, looks to go a little bit defensive. Ooh, D Keller looked like he may have had a slight slide on the exit there. And are you seeing damage on the front of Hideaki's car?
I was going to ask about that actually, because yes, I am.
Okay. So there may be some damage to Hideaki's car from somewhere along the line. It looks quite substantial as well.
I kind of have to wonder if it's lag though, because if it isn't lag, I mean, that is the sort of damage that you'd think would require a pretty hasty pit stop. Yeah. Because that's quite major, I would say.
Yep, we both did see him lag earlier during the race as well, so it could very well be that. And actually, D Keller's coming into the pits now.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Early.
What lap are we on? We're just starting lap 18. So D Keller going for a one stop. He's going for that undercut. It'll be interesting to see now if Godfather Shift is actually going to stay out or whether he's going to pit on the next lap.
This could be a decisive moment in the race actually. A major undercut there from Keller going in at least 2 laps before the halfway point in the race. And hopefully his pit crew doesn't drop a wheel nut, because that would be quite a disaster for him. It's hard for us to say really from this camera. So obviously a few drivers are going to gain position briefly. F-Mate up to 5th, Rattrick up to 4th, Hideaki up to 3rd now. And it's crucial, especially for Godfather Shift now, to have a good in-lap if he intends to respond straight away to Keller. And not lose any time on this lap. Keller comes out in quite a bit of clear air. Oh, that's Sula, I believe. Yeah, there's a few seconds up the road. And actually, I saw that Jeff. Oh, and Brandress are battling for what is a net 7th in the race, but now 6th for the time being. That could be an interesting battle. If you can keep an eye on Godfather Shift, actually, just to make sure he doesn't make a mistake up there on what could potentially be his in-lap if he decides to respond to this undercut that Keller has done here. And I will see if Jeff is able to get close to Brandress on the back straight. SLS is fast on the straight, but of course, as Martin also is known for being relatively good in a straight line. So Jeff, for the time being, is not able to get close enough to Brandress to make a move. But this is currently the closest physical battle on the racetrack, while Keller, at least, and Godfather Shift is separated by the pit strategy.
Yep, Godfather Shift actually now diving into the pits as well. Avoiding the walls, coming in. That looks very nice and smooth pit entry. And he's just coming in towards his pit box now. So he's going to be hoping that he gets a decent pit stop. And hoping that his in-lap was quick enough to hold D Keller off. Hideaki has continued on round for the moment. So it'll be interesting to see how close these two guys are going to come out of the pits. I imagine it's going to be very, very close between the two. Godfather Shift is trying to cover off D Keller, and we're just waiting for the lollipop man to release him. So that seemed like a pretty decent pit stop as well. And that's Sula behind, coming into the pits.
Yeah, Circus Keller now has got more clear air ahead of him. So he's coming down the main straight. Where is Godfather Shift? He's on the pit exit now, and I think that Keller is clear by quite a distance actually. The undercut has worked an absolute treat here. It was Keller that blinked first in the decision to go into the pits, and he's gained at least a couple of seconds, I would say, by having that one lap on fresh tires, which clearly he must have been pushing very hard on as well. Godfather Shift, we didn't see any mistakes from him on the in lap, but that is the power then of the undercut, and Keller is back ahead of Godfather Shift in the championship for the time being.
Yep, so he's got a net 2nd position at the moment, even though he's currently in 7th, but he's closing up pretty quickly onto the back of Jeff and Brandress in front of him. We need to remember that D Keller did a 2:29 was his out lap. So, actually no, that's not going to be of any use, because Godfather Shift may have not crossed over the start-finish line, considering where his pit box was. Ooh, D Keller going very, very deep there into the hairpin, manages to hold on to it though, but the two guys in front of him, D Keller's got to hope that they're going to move out of the way relatively quickly, or both dive off into the pits to basically give him some clear air. Otherwise Godfather Shift will probably start to close up onto the back of him pretty pronto.
Yeah, worst case scenario for him, of course, is if these guys are actually planning to not do a pit stop in the race and somehow trying to stretch this. But I feel like oh my word, Brandress! Okay, that's one way of moving out of the way. All this Condon comeback still ahead of D. Keller, side by side with Jeff. Coming into the penultimate corner here. So Brandress actually kept the position despite a widey, and Keller's going to take a very opportunistic cut underneath there on Jeff, and moves into the pit lane. So does Brandress. So very crucial for Keller. He didn't lose too much time there actually. And
Hideaki's in the pits. He's just coming out now as well.
Yep, there we go. So he will definitely have lost even more time then, with 2 laps more on the one tires compared to Keller, 1 lap more compared to Godfather Shift. He was already a few seconds behind him. He doesn't seem to have lost too much time to his teammate actually. Still about a second or 2 behind. So I think that's a decent in-lap from Hideaki, especially if he had damage, which I don't actually think he had on his screen, so considering the pace he was still running. But yeah, Keller must have had an absolute stonker of an outlap.
Yep, it was 2:29 compared to Godfather Shift's 2:32, so
wow, that's crazy.
Quite a substantial difference there between the 2 drivers. Good 3 seconds. Oh, Hideaki lagging in the background for me again there as he hit the wall pretty hard. But at the moment, F-Mate is currently up into 3rd place, so it could be interesting if he's going to go for a 0-stop strategy. He currently has track position over Hideaki, his championship rival, so it could potentially be a gamble, maybe worth taking.
Well, he doesn't have too much to lose, I think, because if he pits as well, then he will be way behind Hideaki again. And he wasn't showing any indication of catching him earlier in the race on the same tires, so I think F-Mate might as well try it, because really all he has to worry about in the championship is that battle for 4th with Hideaki, and
he's going.
Oh, never mind. That's unfortunate.
And so is Rat Rug in front of him as well.
That's an aggressive pit entry as well. But yeah, the tire wear then must be quite severe here. Chaff, the race leader over there as well, also in the pit actually. We haven't really looked at him too much, which. Not too surprising, I guess, considering he has been pulling away from the field, and he will still have a quite big margin, I think, as he comes out of the pits now. Lovely colour on the sky, I must say, as well, actually, in these quite late but sunny conditions, I believe. So that's the gap then. He's coming into turn 1 as Keller is now coming past the pit exit. And Godfather Shift still a couple of seconds behind. Same with Hideaki. F-Mate now. Still going to be behind Ratrug as they both come out of the pits again. So it doesn't look too good for F-Mate in the championship battle with Hideaki. So Hideaki's way ahead now. But yeah, surely he must have at least considered the possibility of doing something else on strategy. But I think this just shows then that the tire wear here today is quite severe.
Yeah, it's actually watching him when we were kind of discussing that before his pit stop on his in-lap. He was running deep in a couple of corners.
Sorry to cut you off. This is nearly a 3 wide into the first corner for 7th.
Wow.
That was out of nowhere. So Brandress going at it with Sula actually at the moment, who pitted earlier than these guys, I think, and he's not giving up on it. Brandress in the Aston Martin side by side with the roof. Sula, though, I think he'll have the inside for the next corner. Yes, he will for the kink. Oh, and Jeff nearly getting involved as well. Very close 3-way battle there. All of a sudden, for what is 7th place, I believe all of the top 9 at least have pitted now. So, yeah, battle for position and a very close one.
Whoa, that is extremely close as Brandress on the braking there. Nearly makes a little love tap to the back of Sula. That's actually given Jeff a bit of an advantage coming down this start-finish, this back straight, not the start-finish straight, sorry. He's going to have double slipstream as well. Is he going to make it 3 wide? No, Brandress instead is going to have a look down the inside of Sula. Sula goes very late on the brakes and goes pretty deep. Brandress will surely have the exit run here. If he can hold a good line around here, he should be able to get the move done and dusted. It looks like he's been able to do so, as he was able to get on the throttle earlier, but still Sula's hanging in on there as well. Jeff trying to cash in. Sula trying to go around the outside of Brandress, is actually getting the traction coming out the corner as well. Both of the cars rear-wheel drive, actually all 3 cars are rear-wheel drive, but Sula has the advantage with the engine over the back of the rear wheels. This is rear-engine car, and that will help with the traction. Brandress going very deep wide there. He may actually lose the position to Jeff and has to kind of double take with the turn in as he came back inside there. But it looks like Jeff slotted himself up into 8th position, and Brandress has dropped down into 9th position, running a little bit deep and late on the brakes there, but he's now going to have the double slipstream coming down the start-finish straight. And Jeff, obviously with the grunt and the SLS, will probably pull away from the Aston Martin a little bit and close up onto the back of the roof in front of him, but he isn't quite close enough to make a move coming down into turn 1. So it looks like for the moment that these guys are going to settle in the positions that they're in at the moment, with Sula in 7th, Jeff in 8th, and Brandress in 9th.
Yeah, very nice of these guys to throw up some mid-race battling here out of nowhere, and I don't think it's quite over yet, because just like we saw earlier in the race, Jeff is keeping right up on the back of Sula after Sula got ahead. Brandon is now at the back of this pack after running 7th for a long way in the race, but I think Sula and Jeff both have showed slightly better pace throughout the race so far. Obviously Brandon started higher up on the grid, I believe. And now actually Jeff getting a fantastic run. Sula not going to go defensive on this one, and Jeff literally is almost like he has got DRS here into the braking zone, but Sula though going a lot later on the brake zone and tried to go around the outside. A little bit of a slide actually mid-corner there, which really compromised his run, and that means that Jeff is back in 7th position. So, and of course, well, this battle as well is going to be even easier for Brandress to keep up with the back of them as well. So I can't call this, to be honest. It's, I think these guys have been so close all race that I think we're going to have to leave it to the chat to have a vote. Who do you think will get ahead in this race out of Sula and Jeff? Or do you think even Brandress will get back ahead of them, as he nearly did there, as Sula again ran really wide?
Yeah, actually looks like Sula's all over the place a little bit, either that or it could be a little bit of lag as Brandress is looking to his outside coming into the final turn. He's going to have to do a little bit of a switchback here if he's going to have any decent kind of chance. Trying to nail the traction coming out the exit of the corner. Will be V12 versus V6 as they come down the start-finish straight. It looks like that Brandress in the Aston Martin has the legs over the roof and has the inside line coming into the braking zone. Brakes a little bit earlier though, and Sula trying to hang it around the outside. Both the two drivers avoid making contact, and Sula does hold on to that 8th place for the moment. This is going to allow Jeff to pull away from the guys behind him as they're battling away. Sula runs out pretty wide there on the exit of turn 4, and coming into turn 5 that could potentially compromise his line a little bit. Brandress getting very, very close. Yeah, but Brandress not quite able to get up alongside. But yeah, Sula, Jeff is pulling a couple car legs over Sula and trying to pull away from the two guys battling behind. Yeah,
and Miniman in the chat also can't call this battle. He has literally as little clue as me as to who is going to get 7th in this race. So we're gonna, this is the most spread out a bit for a while, so we're gonna jump a bit down actually, because not too many laps ago I did see Andrex and Ram going at it. We got Vrillo still in 10th actually, quite lonely at the moment. Dennis Ginetta has managed to pull away from Biltis, who is in 12th and just ahead of Andrex and Ram. So Andrex has got that position at the moment. Biltis has fallen into the clutches of both of these guys. So Andrex really finding his pace a little bit in the race. He was running far at the back at the start, but working his way back up a little bit by the looks of it. And right at the back we got Jamai and Hetarion, who for some reason has dropped down to 16th position. That is not what he would have wanted, and it definitely looks like his car is damaged as well. Whether that was before or after the pit stops, I'm not sure. But even so, Hetarion has had some kind of nightmare, which means he's now actually very close to getting a lap. Though he has actually already been lapped, I believe. Yeah, he has already been lapped.
Yes, he has. Yep. Just looked up to Brandress and Sula again. Brandress has dropped a few car lengths off the back of Sula, so that battle looks like it's settled down a little bit. It was Hideaki and Tharion.
Yes.
Relatively close together, but obviously they're a lap apart from each other. So Tharion moving very nicely out of the way. Yep, letting Hideaki through. So no real effect there in terms of the championship battle at the front. Let's look at the previous lap times, guys. DKL has pulled 0.4 of a second out of Godfather a Shift, who pulled a 10th over Hideaki on the previous lap. So they're spreading out a little bit, but DKL is on the the older rubber. He pitted a lap earlier than Godfather of Shift did, so that may be potentially coming into play later on in the race. We shall see. It depends how the guys look after their tyres throughout the stint.
Yeah, and of course Keller pitted on lap 18, which means he has to stretch this set of tyres longer than he did on the first stint he used in the race. So Tyler could indeed become quite problematic here at the end of the race. We shall see. But yeah, previous lap time comparison then again between these guys, and again, oh actually no, Godfather Shift has pulled it back by 5/10 this time. So interesting. He's definitely not giving up on this one.
No, neither would I, to be honest. If you can see your championship rival there up in front of you, as he actually cuts a little bit off the inside of the corner there on the inside. It's a little bit cheeky. He shouldn't do that too many times in this race. Hopefully he won't do it again. He'll stay within track limits. Actually runs out a little bit wide there coming out onto the start-finish straight as well. So he's obviously pushing really, really hard, trying to close up to D. Keller in front of him. And see if he can try and get that fight back alive for the second place in the championship.
Yep. Obviously, really don't want any sort of corner cut controversy this for this final race of the season. We've had enough of that already earlier in the season, it has to be said. So hopefully these guys who have been able to keep it relatively nice and clean throughout this race. I'm just looking back at the battle for 12th at the moment. No position changes, but these are the three guys closest on the track, I believe, at the moment, considering that Jeff, Sula and Brandris are starting to spread out a little bit as well. But let's compare lap times between these guys as well, actually. We've got Bilty has been 2/10 faster than Andrex, but we got Ram, based on the previous lap, as the fastest car in this queue, and he's the car behind. Jam Mai, actually, you can see him in the background there just about as well. He's about 4 or 5 seconds behind as well. Might not be out of it just yet if these guys make any sort of mistake. Of course, every driver on the field at the moment will score points, because points are awarded all the way down to 16th position. So even Atharion, who's a lap down, will get a point for his effort if he finishes at least 90% of the race distance. But yeah, Ram trying to make amends, I guess, for the problem he had earlier in the race when he was obviously in that massive scrap in the bottom half of the field, which lasted for quite a few laps at the start, but then dropped right to the back of it. So it's looking pretty fast though, obviously having moved up from the Pro League, the second tier, earlier on in the race. So did Dangerous Ginetta, it must be said as well, who is doing a really good job in this race. Did a really good job last week as well when he finished 9th. His only top 10 finish so far in the season. Not quite there in this race so far, but let's see, gap to Rillo. 5 seconds maybe. Let's say 5 seconds. Got a bit tricky either way.
Yeah, he's quite far back. He's actually losing time as well. I believe. Actually, no, they're pretty equal on pace in the previous lap. But Biltis is closing up onto the back of Dangerous Ginetta by about 8/10 on the previous lap. Andrex and Ram all doing pretty much the same lap times as Biltis. So the three are pretty equal in terms of pace. I was just looking at the guys at the front of the field as well. D. Keller and Godfather Shift. Only 100th of a second between them on the previous lap, so no real movement there. But yeah, we shall hopefully, as we have seen in the past, battles start to form up in the very latter stages of the race when tyre wear really starts to kick into effect.
Yeah, it kind of seems to be quite a few races, a bit of a pattern in that, you know, lots of battling at the start. Then it kind of dies out a little bit, people pitting, trying to figure out where they are in the field again. And then suddenly someone starts closing up and we get some kind of mad scrap towards the end, which hopefully will be the case again. Godfather Shifter on the previous lap isn't closing at the moment on D. Keller, lost those 4/10s that he gained earlier on. So these guys are really just changing lap times at the moment, which, you know, isn't the most entertaining to look at, I guess. But for these guys in the cockpit, it's definitely going to be very sweaty, very intense, pushing to the limit to just try and get as much time out of these cars as possible. Keller a bit wide actually there, but it might have been intentional as he allowed him to cut back for a decent exit through the next part of the track. And as the sun sets here at Dubai, it's only 13 laps remaining in the season as well.
Yep. Just currently watching 13th position. Andrex at the moment is relatively close to Biltis in front of him, and Ram is actually pretty close to the back of him as well. So this could be a three-way scrap that's slowly developing between these three drivers once again. As they're actually closing up on Dangerous Janetta still. They all took out about half a second out of Dangerous Janetta on the previous lap. Although both Andrex and Ram was about a second quicker than Dangerous Janetta was, and half a second faster than Biltis in front of them. So gaps here are shrinking in these 11th to 14th positions, and I think these are the closest guys on track at the moment as well. But, no one's really made any kind of move or attempt to make a pass as of yet. Though Ram is getting a little bit closer in the slipstream as they come down towards the hairpin, but not close enough to make the move on Andrex into that braking zone.
Yeah, and as you mentioned earlier as well, these guys are actually closing on Dangerous Janetta. It could turn into from a three-way scrap to a four-way scrap here. Not too long, another 5/10 on the previous lap taken out by Biltis on Dangerous Janetta, and actually 9/10 by Andrex and a full second by Ram. So Dangerous Janetta being caught quite rapidly here by this group, and again he's running maybe an intentional wide line there.
Ooh.
Cutting back. Oh, that's not quite intentional, I don't think, from Biltis though. That is well wide, but still it doesn't look like Andrex really gained too much on him through there, which is interesting. So Biltis clinging on to that 12th place position at the moment, which is worth 5 points, I believe. 4 points for Andrex in 13th. 3 at the moment as it stands for Ram, whose name is not showing up on the standings overlay in the left side, because he's got a fancy letter in his name, which actually isn't been displayed in the game either. Just a star there. He's got some kind of fancy smiley face, which isn't quite usual, which I guess is kind of ruining a few things with his name, but that's just how it is. Just know that the invisible name in the standings, that is indeed Ram. And oh yeah, that's very close for Andrex to the back of Biltis now. Will he finally try to make some kind of attempt here? Didn't go for the inside line through there. It's obviously quite a long corner there, so it's not the heaviest braking zone. Going to turn into the corner while you brake a little bit, I believe. Onto the straight though. This is where Andrex really needed to get a run, but doesn't seem like the traction was quite what he needed out of the previous corner. And again, Dangerous Janetta running wide on the hairpin. So all we can really do is try and keep an eye on this. But actually, I believe as well, no, they haven't closed up. Briefly said there was less than 2 seconds between Keller and Goldfellow Shift based on the relative overlay, but that is quite fluctuating, so don't think that's 100% accurate.
Yep, actually, Biltis actually going really deep again. Actually, Ram was the one there who had a much better line than the others, and actually stuck the nose up the inside of Andrex. So these three drivers very close together on this lap. So if they start battling, they may hold each other up a little bit and allow Dangerous Janetta to pull away. We shall see what their lap times are this time round, and they're all pretty reasonably close. Looks like 3 tenths was taken out between Andrex and Biltis, and Ram took 2 tenths out of Andrex on the previous lap. Biltis and Dangerous Janetta pretty much equal. Not anything. Biltis was only a tenth slower than Dangerous Janetta was, so the gaps are shrinking and moving around a little bit, but not quite in the direction that we want them to go. We want this to become a 4-way fight, not just a 3-way fight. So
as many way fights as possible, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, exactly. But Andrex, once again, like he was on the previous lap, looking actually pretty close to the back of Biltis. He seems really, really strong in the first sector and through turns 8 and 9 as well.
Oh!
He may actually have, he does have a run on Biltis as he gets a little bit wobbly coming onto the back straight. Did he actually get a slowdown penalty there? Because he seems like he's dropped back quite far.
Looked like I didn't really see him off track to super notable extent, but yeah, that definitely in this way he slowed down. That would appear to be potentially a slowdown penalty there, which is a shame, of course. Biltis, he was hanging on well, even though the guys behind were looking slightly faster. Yeah, it's always annoying to lose a position because of something like that.
Yep. Sorry, it's getting to that stage of the race.
Yeah, it's getting late. That's fine.
Yeah. Mini Marina in the... sorry, I said it again, Mini Marina. Mini Mariner in the chat, providing the latest championship standing positions. Current standings, D Killer will come away with 230 points in second place. Third will be Godfather a Shift with 228 points, and then fourth will be Hideaki with 176, and fifth will be F-Mate with 166 points. I do apologise. Yeah, where are those guys in terms of lap times now? Is there a quick look? It looks like D Killer's pulling away from Godfather a Shift, and actually his teammate Hideaki's closed up about 3 tenths on the previous lap. Ooh, Andrex kicking up an awful lot of smoke there coming through turn 1, but has managed to hold on to a slight slide that he seems like that he would have had. So yeah, they're closing up onto the back of Dangerous Ginetta. They took about a second out of him on the previous lap. Probably a couple of seconds between Dangerous Ginetta and Andrex at the moment. But Ram is looking pretty close behind Andrex as well. And hopefully won't hold Andrex up too much. So come on to the back straight with only about 8 laps to go as Chaff has gone across the start-finish line already. That's isn't too far away from lapping Ram and Andrex.
Nope. Ram, well, he was looking to the inside. I was kind of expecting him to outbrake Andrex there, at least try to. He might have tried to. Maybe Andrex was just super late on the brakes, but it didn't quite work in any case for Ram, who has to stay behind the Mercedes at the moment. And it still looks like, though, despite that, they are slowly but surely catching up to the Ginetta. I can see him now clearly ahead of them in 11th position. And definitely quite tense for Andrex in this situation, you know, both having to focus on catch a car, but also having to worry about Ram. Obviously similar to the situation to what Keller had earlier in the race with the Godfather Shift and Hideaki just swarming around him. But he managed to get that situation sold out by doing the undercut pit stop, which really at the moment seems to be what is going to win him that battle for a second in the championship. It seems to have been a sort of genius move, you know. You gotta expect that Godfather Shift would have had be keeping an eye on Keller as to what he was doing in the pit stops, but of course when Keller was a car behind and pitted so early as well, there was no chance for Godfather Shift to react to it. So that was probably as well a planned strategy from Keller if he ended up in that situation as the car behind. And you never know, if he was Rolls reversed, he might have swapped the other way. So in one way, being behind, as long as you're close behind at the pit stop phase, might have been a good thing for Keller in the end, because as I say, with the pace shown after it as well, it seems to have gotten him this second place.
Yep, obviously still got a few laps remaining though, so it still remains to be seen if that was the right strategy call. Certainly seems like it at the moment, as Andrex get very, very close to the back of Dangerous Ginetta there in the braking zone. It's actually taken a huge chunk of time out of DG in front of him and allowing him to close up relatively quickly, as it seems that Dangerous Ginetta's coming under a little bit of pressure now and has started to go a little bit defensive, trying to defend his 11th place that he currently holds. Ram is sat there right behind them as well, and he'll be looking to cash in on any opportunity that he sees fit to gain some positions. So Andrex is looking to the outside a little bit. I'll probably do a switch back on Dangerous Ginetta here, coming into turns 14 and then 15. and then they'll have one more turn. One final corner to go, which will be turn 16. So Andrex is right underneath the rear wing of the Ginetta in front of him. We'll be looking to get a decent exit coming out of here, as that dangerous Ginetta went a little bit deep there in that final turn, and Andrex will have the slipstream. Surely he'll be able to make the move stick coming down towards turn 1 if he can get up alongside the Ginetta in front of him. No, he's not. He's having a slight look to the inside, but not really able to get his nose in just yet. Coming through the next set of corners. The MG has pretty good agility compared to the SLS. It's taking out some of the top line speed and put some of it into the cornering. Slightly better braking than it was previous than the SLS. It's older brother, and is actually looking to the outside here. Turn 9, and a little bit of contact between the two. That's bumped Andrex out wide, and that's going to surely allow Ram to get up alongside. Not quite, but he may have a pretty good run coming out the exit of this turn here, coming onto the back straight. You have the double slipstream as well. Obviously, Andrex trying to slipstream dangerous Ginetta in front of him. Ram having a little bit of a look to the inside. Andrex having a lunge down the inside. Dangerous Ginetta moving out of the way and could lose potentially 2 positions, as there's a bit of door banging and wheel rubbing between Ram and dangerous Ginetta, as he was trying to cut back in to try.
Yeah, I think Ginetta tried to cut back, but then Ram was suddenly in his way, so he couldn't do it.
Yep, exactly, and yeah, that's allowed Andrex to slip through and actually pull out a couple of car lengths relatively quickly as well. But Ram is now trying to get up alongside dangerous Ginetta. He's not quite able to do so coming out of the exit of that corner. He's looking to the inside now. Will he go for the lunge under braking? Very, very close. He's going to go for that lunge, shoving dangerous Ginetta out wide a little bit. I'm not too sure if there's any contact between the two. So. I didn't hear any, but dangerous Ginetta has got the inside line for that second to last corner. Runs out wide on the exit though, trying to defend and hold himself up there on the inside, and has unfortunately in the space of a couple of sectors dropped down from 11th position down into 13th, and very, very soon we'll be coming under pressure from Biltis, who's been closing up behind as well.
Yeah, I think Ram felt the need to make that move very quickly, because based on some of the previous laps he has had slight pace advantage at Andrex, so he really couldn't afford to be stuck behind the Ginetta there. But speaking of stuck behind the Ginetta now, Biltis might be in that situation at the moment, as he is also close. I mean, this is nearly a 4-way train now. Andrex with a slight gap, but good to see 4 cars close together. This stage of the race, only less than 6 laps to go. Well, I guess these guys have a bit more than 6 laps to go. Chaff has already started the next lap, as far as I'm aware. But let's see if anyone gets any inroads with the slipstream down the straight. I think they're all a little bit too far apart at the moment. So I'm going to take the opportunity to jump up to Jeff, actually in 7th place, who is running relatively by himself. He's got Sula a couple of seconds behind. So these guys were obviously very close battling earlier on in the race. Jeff has managed to actually pull away slightly since then. And Mini Mariner pointing on it in the chat that if Jeff stays in 7th, he will tie with Nova for 6th place in the championship. But unfortunately, though, for Jeff, that isn't really going to help him, because Nova has had race wins, obviously, in the first half of the season, and on count back on that, Nova still technically keeps that position in the championship. So at least though, Jeff has had a much better race today than Biltis, the other man he was close to, and who could have potentially taken away that 7th place. So it does look like, both in the race and the championship, Jeff is heading towards a 7th place finish. A bit of a sad news though from the Pro League. The second tier.
Godfather of Shift has just dropped the car on the 3rd to last corner. He's actually gone and lost a position to his teammate now as well. He was closing up on D. Keller, I think, on the certainly on the previous lap. It took 2 tenths out of him after he was losing time the laps previous. But yeah, he's just dropped the rear of the car and had a little bit of a half spin and has rejoined the circuit right behind his teammates. So Godfather of Shift now down in 4th position. Not good.
Yeah, that's if the battle for second wasn't over already, with Keller having extended the gap, it most certainly is now, and especially now as he's lost it again. Godfather Shift either struggling massively with tyre wear or just pushing a bit too hard now. As I was going to say, at least now we might have a battle between the Z4s, but I didn't even get to say it before he got cut, because he spun again and dropped even more time. So that's going to be closer to 8, 9, 10 seconds between the Z4s now. So that's unfortunate. Godfather shift again, just like at Watkins Glen, has had a mistake that has seemingly thrown away his podium. He hasn't actually been on the podium since round 5 at Catalonia. He has had 2 podiums this season, has had 3 4th places though, and is heading towards another annoying 4th place for him, when it's been looking like he could have gotten more, but yeah, unfortunately for Godfather Shift. He has had a really good debut season in the league, of course, so it's definitely, if you had a sort of rookie of the year, or the rookie of the season award, I think Godfather Shift would clearly grab that one, having been in the second place, or around second, third place in the championship all the way through, really, and has been really consistent. Did have 1 DNF, but apart from that, has shown really good consistency. So, despite a few mistakes, I think overall, and also despite losing second to Keller right at the death of the season, I think overall, I don't think he can be too displeased about his season.
Yeah, he's put in some very good performances, and it's been a lot of fun watching him battling with the other guys as well, especially in and around his teammate. Hideaki has also been mighty impressive on the pad this season, especially to take 4th position in the championship as well, especially over the likes of F-Mate and all the other drivers that you could list behind them. There's quite a lot who have joined and competed in this elite league so far this season. Obviously, came in with 24 drivers. Fortunately, a number of people had to drop out because of technical reasons. A couple of people left for various unforeseen circumstances, and we've had a load of people come in new from reserves for the season, and some being promoted from the Pro League. So yeah, it's we've had a very good batch for this this season 7. It's watching DKeller go pretty deep into the hairpin with Dangerous Janetta going pretty deep in front of him as well. Imagine Dangerous Janetta will get out of DKeller's way relatively soon. It actually does that right now.
Oh yeah,
So,
Bilt has gone past Janetta. Did we see that? I can't remember seeing that.
No, but it was only really a matter of time between those two, before those two swap positions.
Yeah.
As Dangerous Janetta has dropped off the pace somewhat, which allowed the other guys to close up relatively quickly.
It really is getting dark, actually, out on track at the moment. Sun really falling down behind the buildings here in Dubai. And I have to say, it's quite appropriate, I guess. Right at the end of the season, you have the end of the sun as well. Very appropriate. Very good timing from whoever set the start time for this race on the calendar, I must say. But yeah, it does look like at the moment that most of the battles in this particular race are settled. The only real scrap is the one for 11th between Andrex and Ram, a man who has been, oh my word, I heard some kind of contact somewhere, I think.
I didn't hear them.
It's okay, good. I got scared. Thought I heard a crash, but yeah, I was going to say, the battle here between Andrex, who has been in the league since Season 1, one of the absolute veterans of the AOR GT3 league, which, as mentioned earlier in the broadcast, started pretty much 2 years ago, exactly, 3 days from it, in fact. Oh, and that's very close from Ram, who, on the other hand, is only now doing his 4th race, I believe, in the Elite League. So, quite differing experience, I guess, in these cars for these guys. But still, in this race, they are very close on pace. But at the moment, it seems like Ram isn't quite able to make up the ground he really needs to make the move. But of course, 3 laps still to go, Yorkie. Oh, never mind. Why do I keep doing that? Oh, actually, no, I thought it ran wide, made a mistake, but it's actually being a lap there, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Obviously, Andrex would have to lose that time as well.
Yeah, just letting Chaff through. I saw him. I was on board with the bumper cam at the time when he ran wide, and he was flashing lights as well, obviously signaling to let Chaff go through. So Yeah, it's doing that as they come down the start-finish straight. Only 2 laps remaining in this race. The final race of Season 7 in the AOR GT3 Elite League. Potentially our last GT3 season that we have before Project Cars 2. But we'll probably do some kind of racing to fill the time between there and then to keep you guys entertained. We're not going to desert you completely. So there will be something to watch, but yeah,
I mean,
just watching.
The plans haven't really been set in stone fully, I guess, for what will happen between now and Project Cars 2. I think everyone's really thinking about Project Cars 2 at this point and kind of looking forward to that. Because I think obviously this game having been out for 2 years now, it's quite impressive actually that we got the amount of drivers we do still in these leagues. With 3 leagues on each of the platforms going for Season 7. So, but yeah, I think that Project Cars 2 will really bring some new life into it, and with new cars, new tracks, new features. I'm definitely looking forward to it. But as for the gap between, remains to be seen. Will there be a Season 8 before the new game? Probably depends on the interest, really. Interest from drivers and coordinators, as I guess, as well, to sort it out. But even if there isn't another GT3 in that gap, there will definitely be some kind of racing going on. So, for those who do want to keep going.
Yep, for sure. As I myself am actually tempted to jump back in the driver's seat as well to give it a go at some point.
Despite all the running you've done on Project Cars 2.
Yeah, see what the differences are between the 2 games, because I haven't actually played, other than doing these streams, I don't really fire up Project Cars at all anymore, other than for checking stuff as to how they used to work in the old game and comparing it to the new one. So yeah, it'll be an interesting experience to see just how far the second game has come. Obviously, being there in development, you kind of lose sight as to the distance that it's improved, and it has come a long way over the first one.
Listening to this is vastly jealous of the fact that you've even gotten to play it already in the first place.
Yeah, I know. Well, developer, so
yeah, you could have. Could have.
Yeah, you could have invested in WMD2. I'm not sure if we're. Well, actually, no, we won't be opening up anything again in the future for this game. It's a little bit too close to the end of development now as well, as it's coming out later on this year. Just watching Ram at the moment, still closing up onto the back of Vandrex. He's still fairly close, but he's still a few car lengths back as well. He's not quite close enough to really make any kind of lunge. Hideaki's still running in 3rd position, and DKL is still on his lonesome.
Of course, these guys on their final lap because of the fact that Chav has lapped them. So Ram and Andrex, Ram's running out of time really if he wants to make this move now. I'm just watching Chav so you can get some glimpses of that battle in the background. Looks like Andrex has got that under control, even though Ram is right there behind him still. So Chav actually only has got 1 corner to go to round off this season. He already wrapped up the championship a few races ago, but he's going to take another dominant win here today. Last week it wasn't so easy for him. His teammate won instead, but this time he's going to very stylishly drift across the line to take the win in this final race of the season at Dubai. Well done to Chav. And Andrex did win that battle for 11th with Ram. So next to cross the line will be DKL to take 2nd place, not only in the race, but also in the championship. First half of the race, he was very close with Godfather Shift, trying to make the move on track, but instead he made it in the pit stops, which means Godfather Shift ended up behind, and he also then made a mistake that dropped him down to 4th. Hideaki up into 3rd to finally take that 2nd podium of the season for him, which he's been waiting for sure. Godfather Shift is going to come home in 4th to round off a very solid rookie season to take 3rd place in the championship as well. And then we will have, I believe, Ratrug. Yep, there we go. Ratrug 5th. Goes nearly into the wall there on the end of the race. And then who do we have? F8, I guess.
F8.
Yep. Unfortunately, wasn't quite able to challenge Hideaki for 4th in the championship today. Hideaki too strong for him around Dubai. smoke there. But they've made still a decent 6th place, I guess, and gets then 5th place in the championship. Anyone else on the lead lap?
Sula's just come across the line in 7th place, which means that Jeff has dropped.
Oh yeah! Oh,
somewhere.
Jeff, where have you gone?
8th. Jeff
Okay.
has lost the position. He's dropped down into 8th place. So
Interesting.
he won't jump Nova
yeah.
in the championship. Right, should I say he definitely won't jump Nova in the championship. And it didn't happen on the last lap either. It must have happened a lap or two ago when we were watching Andrex and Ram.
Yeah, still though, Jeff is going to keep 7th in the championship. Might not get Nova, but he's going to keep 7th out of Biltis, who finished down in 13th. Not the best race for him, unfortunately, in the McLaren. And I think Brandris actually, yeah, Brandris finished on the lead lap. So did Rillo. So top 10 on the lead lap. Decent effort. And the man though of the season, must be said, is Charles, who's now coming into the pits one final time. The sun has set and the season has come to an end. There will be no more racing in Season 7, I think. The championship positions are mostly settled as well. As far as what we pointed out, Andrex and Rillo. Rillo actually gets the battle for 13th, ahead of Andrex and Atharion, with the best result out of those guys here today. Only beating Andrex by 1 position, but quite a bit of time. And Atharion, unfortunately, down in 16th. Which means Vatrug... Oh, actually, Vatrug up in 5th. I think he's going to jump a lot there. Up into 13th. I should double check, actually. Because Vatrug was 10 points behind. Vatrug was 10 points behind Andrex and Rillo. 9 behind Atharion. He's finished in 5th, which means he's gotten 23 points. Rillo has gotten 9, yeah, so Vatrug actually gets 13th in the championship, getting quite a few positions, up from 17th in the final round, so decent for him, after only doing 6 races this season.
Interesting.
Oh.
Yeah, again, it's raising for me as well.
Yeah, well, didn't need it anymore anyway. So, there we go. That though means that I want to get the benefit of the in-game Project Cars music, so I need to actually find the music myself. So let me get that done 1 second. I guess we will have some driver interviews before we end the stream here. Also want to give a quick shout out actually to the guys who have followed the stream throughout the race. That would be Renunes, X Irgo 04X, J Hadronics, WO11, Kreutz Sigung, and also Nick Meadow right there, right now. So thanks guys for the support on that. And Yorkie, who do you feel like we should bring in for an interview? The ever difficult question.
Yep, Papan's going to be obviously a very, very happy man.
Yeah, for sure.
So it'll probably be worth interviewing. Mini Mariner wants to get Chaff in for an interview, just so we can give him his stat, and then we can kick him back out again.
Wait, what was the stat?
That he has scored all but 12 points this season, 348 pounds of a possible 360.
Wow, that's unbelievable. That is quite unbelievable. Obviously, had Nova there to take some points off him in the early part, but yeah, that's a lot of points for him.
Yeah, chat saying that they want Papan in, Papan being the killer. So I think that's a pretty obvious one. Should we quickly get Chaff in just to give him his stat? And
yeah. And his championship interview. We already kind of interviewed after he did secure the championship already, but might as well. He's muted his mic. I'm going to take the gamble though still and see if he's there. Otherwise, we might have to just delay that for a bit. If he doesn't respond, let's have a quick peek. Charf! Are you there, Mr. Charf? Push to talk and all that. Nope, doesn't seem like he is at the moment. So we will get back to Charf in that case.
Hello.
Oh, there you are,
Oh, there
just
we
in
go.
time. I was about to give
Yeah.
up on you there.
I had the same problem like last week. I turned off my wheel and that's when I pushed it
Ah,
off.
of course, yeah. I see. Well, we just thought we'd give you, get you in for a quick chat here right at the end of the season. Obviously, you did already secure the championship some rounds ago, which we did speak to you then. But you know, you've had some interesting races since then. Not the most interesting races, I guess, but
Yeah.
a very impressive race nonetheless. Just
Thank you.
tell us a bit about your mindset and your race.
Yeah, it has been a great season for me. Everything went pretty good. I didn't have any major incidents or failures of my hardware, like my wheel and stuff. So I was a bit concerned about that because I already had one. But yeah, luckily it turned out just the way I wanted it to. I was a bit sad that Nova dropped out because we had some really good battles there. And then afterwards it was a bit, yeah, like you said, boring. But nonetheless, it was a great season. And I want to congratulate my teammate Papan for his great season finish.
Yeah.
P2. He did a great job there.
Definitely.
And yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah.
I'm glad that in that final race, that as Papan said in the interview last week, that you weren't going to have any part in the basically the championship, the second place fight in this final round. So although we didn't really see much of you because you just disappeared off into the distance, it was kind of very gracious of you in that sense to you leave the two drivers, Godfather Shift and your teammate DKL, to actually fight it out. So yeah, it's good to kind of see that. But also congratulations on obviously a championship win. But one of the reasons why we wanted to get you in here is we have a little stat that you've achieved this season, and it's pretty damn impressive.
What is it?
So you have scored all but 12 points this season. You got 348 out of the total 360 points that could have possibly been achieved in this
Wow,
season.
that's amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I'm not too sure if we've had anyone beat that, get that high, maybe?
God, now I really wish I had a stat for points totals for previous champs. Obviously, some of the seasons have had different number of rounds, but yeah, I think.
Where's Brownski?
Yeah,
Yeah, Wes Browski. When you
couldn't have asked too much from yourself, really. And obviously, considering how close you were to the championship last season with that joint points at the top with Mangator, you must at least feel good to get it.
Oh god, don't remind me of that, man.
But yeah, I think there's not too much more to say. We kind of wrapped up quite a bit last time we spoke to you as well. So all we can say,
Yeah.
you know, again, really congratulations. You've been the man of the season. Is fair to say, I think. So we hope, of course, you'll be back in race again whenever the next GT3 season will be. Whether or not that will be on this game, we don't know yet. But we hope to see you back anyway.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you as well for the great coverage as usual and for making all this possible. And yeah, see you soon around here, I guess.
Yep. So, thanks, man.
Indeed.
Catch you later.
Alright, see you guys, bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, congrats, goodbye.
Thank you.
Righty. That was the well, I was nearly said newly crowned champion. It's not quite newly crowned because it was already a few weeks ago, but still. It must feel good for him to get this championship after the heartbreak of Season 6 when he lost it on win count to Mangator. But Keller then, next, or Papan. Well,
Aye.
Papan, you are here again.
Yes.
How are you feeling?
What the hell was that, man? That was
Oh,
a terrible race. What were you doing, throwing it away like that? Come on.
That was a crazy race.
Race of two halves, I guess, it must be said. First half,
It
stuck behind Godfather Shift, trying to make the move on track. Instead, he made it in the pit. Tell us about it.
Yeah, that was tactical, but he was fast. Shit, he was fast. And the only reason I could keep up was because in the slipstream, I had the advantage on the straight, and the slipstream helped me keep up with him. But in the corners to keep up with him there, I had to go. I was way over the limit, and it was such a big risk all the time. There was a couple of times I just closed my eyes and hoped that I won't spin. But it was amazing and fantastic defense. He pulled there. I tried everything. I was everywhere on the track to try to find an opening. But,
Yeah, we saw you were taking some
get it
crazy
done.
lines behind him.
Yeah, I just tried everything, and I knew that if he got into his rhythm, I was afraid he could pull away because I know he's faster than me over one lap. So I had to push him all the time and hope he would make a mistake. And then I pushed a little bit too far in one of the corners, and I had to let him pass. And then Hideaki got past as well. Luckily, I got the repass done on him quite fast, and I closed the gap in again. And then got that undercut made. And I knew that the tire wear would be a problem. So I was a little bit nervous about the end, but it seems that actually, surprising enough, that the two Z4s had more problems with tire wear than I had. So that was good. It played out as I wanted.
Yep, that start was pretty impressive as well. Trying to go 3 wide into turn 1.
Yeah, wow, yeah.
Almost 3 wide. Yeah, you managed to hang around the outside of Hideaki to take that 3rd place. You almost got Godfather a shift there as well.
Yeah, I was afraid they were gonna do a revenge on me for the race last time. I didn't want to have Hideaki in between me and Godfather because maybe Godfather would pull away and I wouldn't be able to close the gap if he had a couple of seconds, I think. So yeah. I knew I had to get the pass done fast on them. So it was all or nothing on the first couple of laps.
Yeah, definitely looked like it as well. In terms, and then obviously did that tactical move to get it in the pits, and you then managed to pull away the Godfather shift, then had a couple of spins as well, unfortunately, which dropped him down to 4th. But this though means, of course, that you finish 2nd in the championship. You pass Godfather shift in the table on the final round, and this is also then, I just checked right now, this is your best championship finish. You already had a couple of 3rd places, so it might have been boring to finish there again, but now you got 2nd at least.
Yeah, that was the goal, and as I said, this is my last season, so it was important to finish on a high and not give up. Even with the start of the season I had, it just proves that you can just keep fighting and you can turn it around. And I gotta admit, I also practiced like hell for this one. All spare time I put into it to be ready. So good I did, because a few tenths slower and I wouldn't be able to keep up with Hideaki and Godfather, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely very close. But you've obviously been around in the league for a long time, as you said. It's your final one. It's quite sad.
Yeah, I promise I'll be back for Project Cars 2, and we have our jockey to make sure that it's going to be a great game. He knows what happens if it's not. So yeah, looking forward to that. I bought a new wheel that's ready as well, so everything is prepared for Project Cars 2. I even bought a new house where I will have a dedicated gamer room, so I can promise you everything will be ready for Project Cars 2.
Nice one. That's good to hear.
That's a bit extreme. I know of people buying like new wheels and equipment and upgrading their rig for a new game, but I've never heard of anyone buying a house.
Project Cars 2 house.
Going all in, of course. Going all in. We need to have that overall win, so we need to invest where we can to make it happen.
Fortunately, it's not just me working on the game.
Oh well. Don't know. There's too much more to say, really. You've had a good run. You must be said, Keller, and or Papa now. I'll call you Papa now.
Yeah, just do that. That's fine.
So, yes, we need to give you thanks as well for all the action you've given us on track, and of course, we look forward to seeing you back on Project Cars 2. Well done again on your season, and thanks for joining us for a final chat.
Yeah, thanks guys, and thank you for all the work you have done with the streaming, and thank you for a fantastic league. It's been a real pleasure being here. Really enjoyed that. So thanks guys.
All right.
Thank you very much.
I will catch you in some months, I guess.
Yep. See you then.
See you later.
See ya. Alright.
Right, that was Mr. Papa, and I kind of want to get Hideaki just because he finally got that podium. Oh, he's also got his mic muted. I'm gonna try anyway. I'll try Hideaki. Wonderful. There we go. Hideaki, you're there.
Hello.
Hideaki, hello. You finally got that podium again.
Yes, finally.
Albeit at the expense of your team,
Yeah, well.
unfortunately.
Yeah, something's come.
That's what happens. At least you were there to take advantage. Yeah. How do you feel after that podium? How was the race for you?
Interesting. I mean, qualifying third was really good, but I knew immediately that Pathfinder was going to pass me. The raw straight line speed is just too much, so I didn't really bother defending. The important thing was just to keep shift ahead.
Yeah.
And then I tried to stay with him as best as I could. Tried to have a couple of moves at Pathfinder.
Definitely
And
did
then-
have a couple.
But then around lap 12 or so, I started getting really bad lag spikes. So I had to fall back a couple of seconds just to not ruin everyone's race.
Okay. Yeah, we did see a car actually lagging around a bit occasionally on the spectator mode as well. So I guess yeah, you were feeling that as well.
Yeah, so for the rest of the race, I basically just had to try and avoid fights. Because occasionally cars would just sort of veer off the track and suddenly appear right back in front of me.
Oh, well. That doesn't sound like ideal. Luckily,
Like even lapping cars got a bit scary sometimes.
yeah, can imagine. Luckily, I guess in the second half of the race, at least, you weren't in immediate proximity to anyone, and in the end, obviously, Godfather Shift had his mistake. You got that, but as I said, you have to be in a position to take advantage if things happen. So it was a long wait. You've been on course for a few podiums earlier, especially Silverstone. Sorry to remind you, but yeah. 2 podiums for the season. Are you happy with that overall? And obviously securing 4th in the championship as well.
Yeah, I did everything I wanted to do at the start of the season. I wanted 2 podiums and I wanted to improve on 5th in the championship.
Yeah.
Would have been better if races like Catalonia and Zhuhai went my way.
Yeah.
So 3 or 4 podiums then, but
And obviously you had those 2 weeks with the technical issues. If it wasn't for that, who knows? Maybe you could have been with in the 2nd place fight as well.
yeah, but I mean, I'm not going to complain. I've done better than I thought I would.
Yeah. That's good at least. So positive season, and obviously on the pad as well, which continues to amaze me. How you did. So again, we don't really know what the plans are for season 8 at the moment. Whether it will be on this game or Podcast 2. How do you see your future Podcast League Racing future going forward?
I think I'm taking a break at this point. I've had 4 seasons in a row now, so I think I'm just going to take a break from racing games in general, really. And just wait for PCAS 2, and maybe I might have a wheel in time for that game.
Oh, could be interesting, yeah.
We'll
Fingers
see
crossed
you
you're
in
even faster in
Sony
that
Pro
case.
then.
Well, obviously it could be a learning curve, but yeah.
Yeah, you'll see me in semi-pro most likely.
In any case, yeah, it's been good, of course, to have you along in the league for these seasons, and yeah, we're looking forward to see you back in Podcast 2 at least.
Thank you. I've enjoyed all of it.
That's good to hear. Alright, man, cheers for the chat, and we'll catch you later.
See ya.
Yep.
See you, man.
Cheers, B.
Cool, that was Hideaki. So that was Godfather Shift. Obviously would have gotten him in if he had stayed in the Discord, but he left quite early, so there was no chance of getting the top 3 championship finishes in for an interview. We got 4th in the end, which isn't a bad substitute, must be said, and obviously he did finish 3rd in the race as well. So yeah, I think there's not too much more to wrap up the season. Andrex is in the chat. He survived season 7 and sounds pretty pleased about that. He's got his Mercedes AMG for sale now as well.
It has never been driven past.
He's never driven that. Yeah, well, yes, at least it's been driven. So it was the first season he made an appearance, if I remember correctly. So good to see a variety of the cars on the grid. So yeah, Yorkie, what do we do now? There's no more racing to be had for the time being.
Shamelessly plug Project Cars 2 as
Go
we
for it.
released a Porsche announcement
Ooh.
trailer today, or video today.
Does that
So
mean
yes,
there's no
we do have the
roofs, or
manufacturer.
is it going to be both?
You have to wait and find out, but we'll definitely have Porsche.
Okay, that's good. Very exciting. So another new car to the GT3 grid then, which is good.
Yes. Release date? You're not going to get a release date. Late.
Oh, come on, you're okay.
No. Just
No one's watching anyway. Dude.
22 people are watching.
Wow.
Those 22 people,
They go.
including me and you, could quite easily spread the news. It's amazing how far 22 people can shout these days.
I'm sure they won't. They're nice people.
Even still. But yeah, it's late 2017 is our release date at the moment.
Yeah. All right. I'm sure everyone is looking forward to Project Cars 2. I'm certainly looking forward to broadcasting the GT3 leagues on Project Cars 2. I don't think I plan to come back to GT3 as a driver, because obviously I did do Season 1 to 3 as a driver. Mostly it didn't go too well. I did have a few decent races. I did have a podium, I must just point out. But yeah, you know, cars with roofs isn't really my forte usually. So I think though that hopefully there will be some kind of open wheel league on that game as well, which I can dig into as a driver as well. But yeah, definitely for the and of course the new broadcast features. I'm definitely looking forward to making use of that for these streams as well.
Yep.
So
there's plenty of variety in terms of car classes and stuff. So a lot of stuff that we saw in Project Cars 1 is returning in Project Cars 2. Not absolutely everything, but the majority of it is still there. So there'll be plenty of good open wheel action to race with. So you'll be happy in that sense.
good stuff. All right, but I think with that said, it's kind of time to wrap up the season. It's been a pretty long one, 6 rounds of quite a lot of battling, and of course really impressive driving from the drivers on the fields. These guys, especially the likes of Chaff and Keller and Goldfellow Shifts and so on, continue to amaze me with the kind of pace that they are able to define. And of course we hope that definitely on Project Cars 2, maybe even on some of the racing that will happen before then, that we will see those guys back on the grid. So thanks to all the drivers who have given us the action here this season, everyone who has taken part in the Elite League and has taken part in a good amount of races. I'm not too eager on thanking everyone who dropped out, but I'm sure they had decent reasons. But yeah, anyway. Thanks to all of them, of course. Thanks to all the drivers who are racing in all the 8 other leagues as well, on the other platforms and down the divisions on the PC side as well. We hope that everyone has had an enjoyable ride throughout Season 7. And of course, thanks to the coordinators for making sure everything has gone relatively smoothly. And of course, finally, Yorkie, thanks to you for joining me through it all.
That's not a problem. And thank you to you for providing the streams that is entertaining all our viewers. Obviously, everyone is very, very thankful in the chat for seeing all the thank you messages come in. So thank you to you guys as well, tuning in on each Wednesday night that we have been hosting these. Obviously, provides a little bit more entertainment for us, watching the comments as the race unfolds and seeing all the various different random and sometimes boring, but sometimes very, very interesting chats that you guys have as well, whilst we're talking away and trying to commentate on the action as we see. Yeah,
the action in the chat is very similar to the action on track. You know, occasionally a little bit boring, but for the most part, very exciting, must be said. But yeah. So of course, thanks to everyone who's been watching as well. I hope you will join us for whenever the next Project Cars stream will be. I don't know. I wish I could like plug the next Project Cars stream here, but plans still to be made. But I'm sure at some point, definitely before Project Cars 2, there will be some more league broadcasts to be had on here. So make sure you follow the channel for more of that in the future. Make sure you, of course, follow both me and Yorkie on YouTube for more general racing as well. Make sure you follow Project Cars and all the media channels that they have for more news on Project Cars 2 as we get towards the release of that. And with that said,
and if you haven't already, go to the Project Cars channel now and watch the video that we released today
Sure, why not?
Yep.
But with all that said, thanks again for watching. Catch us whenever next time is, and we'll see you then. Good night.
Thank you. Goodbye.